Good evening. Heavy rainfall over a short period of time this morning caused flash flooding here in the city of Montgomery and in the surrounding countryside. For a complete wrap-up of the resulting damages, here are 4 reports.
It was a flood that hit all segments of the Montgomery community, but the most dramatic toll was in the city's low-income areas. Here in West End, some residents enjoyed themselves. Others moved out, and most just put up with the water until it began subsiding.
The water this morning was about 2 feet and 6 inches this morning. And down on this end, they had to get this little kid out. And the girl the kid and the lady with the lady. And then this next door lady here with her 2 children, I got them out. And I put the furniture up on top of the studio couch. on the chairs in the room. This one I did the same thing to, and so I packed up to move out myself.
No one seemed to be in a panic today. Even officials who were making others aware of the potential dangers of the situation admitted that it could have been a lot worse.
By the time we got here, most of the water was starting to subside, and we asked anyone if they needed assistance, if they wanted to be removed from the houses, and they said that they were going to wait it out and see if it would continue to fall.
So these people are staying in despite the fact that the water's still a 1.5 foot, 2 foot deep around here in parts.
Yes, sir. Most of the houses are built up on pillows, and it appears that not too many are underwater as far as the living area yet. And with the water subsiding, the problem is dissipating.
To some flood victims, their problem made the day just a little more interesting than usual. To a few, it spelled tragedy. But to most, it was mainly a mess. Bill Weaver reporting. For more on Northwest Montgomery's problems, here's Janet May.
The rain prompted residents of some West Montgomery neighborhoods to pack up their belongings and leave, or stand watching the door to keep as much water out of the house as possible. The rainstorm caused a ditch in the area to overflow, submerging approximately 1/3 of the homes in 2 to 4 feet of water. Officials are concerned about children playing in the snake and rat-infested water and advise parents to prohibit playing around rain-swollen ditches. Victims of this morning's flood may qualify for relief offered by the Montgomery County Community Action Agency, according to agency spokesman Tom Gardner.
Well, we have emergency funds that we could use to assist the families for necessary shelter in terms of relocation. We can spend up to $250 per family. Now, these families must qualify for these funds by being low-income families. We will be more than happy to. We've got caseworkers in areas now. For those of them who caseworkers have not met with, they can call the agency, and the number is 263-3474, and we'll do our darndest to assist those low-income families as long as funds last.
If residents of the area don't appear too disgusted, it's probably because they're familiar with the flooding process. One resident says heavy rain always causes the water to rush in and the people to rush out. This is Janet May in West Montgomery. George Mitchell reports on Northside problems.
Low-lying areas in North Montgomery were also inundated, but in many sections the water ran off quickly after the rains quit. Drainage problems forced the evacuation of a few of the residents in the area of Howe and North Decatur streets. Montgomery police on the scenes handled much of the evacuation. Officer F.L. McCracken rescued an 80-year-old resident on Howe Street and another on Wither Street. Most of the residents in this section of town remained calm as they sat on the front porches of their homes waiting for the waters to subside. The flooding was fed by this ditch. The fast current weakened the foundation of a stretch of McDonough Street which crosses the ditch. The lower Wetumpka Road experienced much of the same as in other low-lying areas, water levels high enough to come inside homes. A number of cars were stalled and swamped by waters. For most residents in the area, the water is draining off quickly, and hopefully things will return to normal rapidly. George Mitchell, WSFA TV News in North Montgomery. Now Clark Edwards reports from South Montgomery and South County.
Highway 231 South was closed for a short period of time this morning when water rose on several creeks and overflowed the northbound lanes. Flooding in the county has been widespread as smaller creeks could not handle the rainfall and backed up into low-lying lands. There are no reports of major danger to livestock or rural residents as yet, but these smaller creeks are dumping their overflow into rivers, and those in low-lying areas along the state's rivers particularly in south and south-central Alabama, should be on the alert for rising water. A lumber business at 4200 South Troy Highway had begun their workday today by wading waist-deep in water in an attempt to retrieve their wood. Stacks of 2x4s floated with the running waters. Workers were able to recapture the wood using heavy equipment and winches, some before it got into the main runoff stream. Other stacks, however, made it to the underpasses and drainage tunnels under 231. There it blocked up the drain but did not escape the salvage effort. No damage estimate from Durabuilt Homes yet. Closer to the city, on the south side, the Desiree Apartments were hit by a flash flood, a flooding in their parking lot that hit in a period of a few minutes.
That that one at the end was right up to the middle of the windows, and just all down through here they were pretty well flooded.
They got up to the top of the windows here. On these cars, they're both flooded, and the engines are both flooded out. And the water came in the back here, right up to the gray fences down there, like covering the cars down at the far end. That happened real quick. Someone left at 7:20, and at 7:35, the water was up above most of these cars. They're up near the roof on them.
How much damage has been done to your Oldsmobile here?
I don't know. I just tried to start it and couldn't. I'm not going to try anymore until the insurance people look at it. But I know the Volkswagen, the oil is full of water and so forth, so we won't try to start it.
Was the water moving swiftly through this area?
No, coming in it was, but not down in here. Once it hit this end, it just bottled up and just became a dam.
That was the trouble. It stopped moving. If it kept moving, but all the drains in here got clogged up, and then it just backed up and came a little lake here.
Have you ever seen water this high around here?
I don't know. I'm only a guest here for about 1 year, and they caught me with only 2 weeks to go. I wish they could have waited a little while, but that was pretty good water.
Another apartment complex in the city had water get into 3 apartments when part of a drainage ditch retaining wall collapsed.
It's about 2-3 inches. The main water was coming through here. You can see it was coming through the apartments and not through the ditch. But we've got everything pretty much under control right now, though.
The flash flooding in the capital city was over within 3 hours, but the total damage estimate is yet to be compiled. Clark Edwards, WSFA TV News, Montgomery.
Mayor Emery Falmer spent most of this afternoon in some of the affected areas surveying the damage done by this morning's flooding. He concentrated most of his efforts on the city's drainage ditches, as Dave Rickey reports.
This was a situation at Perry Hill Road near Goodwin Junior High School. Water reportedly built up so fast that the ditch could not accommodate it, and it began collapsing. The mayor said if the rain had not stopped when it did, the erosion would have reached the road, causing an even more hazardous situation. City Maintenance Supervisor E.B. Lloyd said the damage would be repaired by pouring a combination of clay, gravel, and concrete into the washed-out spaces. Meanwhile, this ditch adjacent to Gladlane Street near the Montgomery Mall received another blow from the morning storm. Another section of the same ditch had washed away in last week's heavy rains. But according to Mayor Falmer, a construction defect caused the concrete to give way quicker than it should have.
This was built in 1975 and was not built under the supervision of the maintenance department, and it was built poorly and wrong. Just to look at it, you can see that the concrete did not go up far enough. The water comes in behind the concrete, builds up a pressure behind it, and kicks it out. And this is what has happened all the way down here. And we certainly wouldn't build one now like this. Shouldn't have been built this way in the first place, but it's going to be incumbent on us now to fix it, and fix it we will.
The cost of repairing these ditches has still not been determined. This is Dave Rickey, WSFA TV News, reporting.
Congressman.
I thought you fellas were supposed to get the news.
Yes, I understand that you say you're the only person you think will be coming.
That's right.
Why do you say that, sir?
Huh? Because I think that's the facts. I mean, you just watch and see. I'm just predicting that.
Why you, sir?
Huh? Well, I told them before. I just happened to be the wrong guy at the right place at the wrong time.
Yeah. What's your reaction coming to Maxwell?
I don't know yet. I don't even know what Maxwell's reaction is.
Congressman, it looks like you're going to be doing a lot of reading. What do you got to read there?
Just my favorite books.
Is it nice to be back in Alabama?
Well, I guess under the circumstances, nice as can be. Do you feel you've been victimized in your career against kids?
We'll treat him just as we do any other new commitment.
What kind of factors will determine what he will be doing while he's here?
Oh, his physical condition, his education background, the type of work that he's been involved in, both in the government sector and private sector. And we'll give him a job in the camp that fits his capabilities.
His sentence was from 6 months to 2.5 years?
That's correct.
How much time is the minimum time that he could serve here then?
6 months. That would be the minimum.
All right, Terry, this is like probably your best hitter on the other team. You know, bigger guy, strong guy, pulls the ball down the line hard. You want to try and keep the ball in front of you at all the time. So, because if it gets by you down there, it's going to be a double. If you can keep in front of you, hit your chest or something, you know, you can hold him to a single or make the play on him. Okay, just you got to get in your ready position like this all the time. Just roll over, keep the ball in front of you, just come up throwing. Okay, always try to keep it in front of you so it'll, you know, you can at least knock it down. So he's the good hitter. You got the guy you got to keep off the base. Okay, go ahead, try it. All the way down here. Okay, good. Good job.
This is the scene of the shootout. One man involved in it was arrested here. 3 others were later taken into custody in the case. The shooting has left 1 man wounded, but police say they can't find him or a pickup truck involved in the shooting. One picket described what occurred.
Well, there were some 3 men who crossed our picket line. They did not honor our picket line. They went into the plant, came back out. They stopped up here on the hill. Now, I was just down the road a piece. I saw they stopped. One of our men were up here on the CB informing us when someone came in and out so we could take tag numbers and take names. And some of our men rushed up here to see what was going on. And myself and several other women got into a car, came up the road, and there was some window bursting out. One of our union men, back window got bursted out by these 3 black guys. I seen one black guy go into his Capri, get a pistol, and open fire. I saw one of our men fall.
The 9-day strike by chrome plant workers had already been a tense, dangerous situation. Police had already confiscated several handguns from strikers armed with guns, baseball bats, and steel pipes. They say most are women. The FBI is investigating the case of a truck driver who delivered supplies to the plant and was fired upon by union members. The strikers say company officials have hired troublemakers to break the strike and give the union a bad image. One worker explained grievances that resulted in the work stoppage.
We want a living, decent, safe working conditions, but we are not going to let the company use us like they have used us in the past and like they have used us since this strike started. They set things up.
Like what?
Well, like this shooting incident this afternoon. Now, we had a roadway truck come in. Roadways Union, they honored our picket line, which we are most appreciative to them for. So they get out, leave the truck parked, and one of our foremen is going to be big smart aleck, and he crawls in it and runs over our union president. Had it not been for some of the other ladies standing there, he would have completely run over, and no telling how much harm he would have done to her.
An air of tension still hangs over this area where the strike is going on, and when that tension will ease is up to union representatives and people who run the plant not far from here. It's anybody's guess when they will finally get together. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News, Clanton, Alabama. plane apparently landed in Montgomery at 4 a.m. this morning, according to information we've received, and reports about what really happened here are still sketchy. Toxicologists say the load is worth $4,350,000. They tell us that 6,800 pounds of marijuana and possibly other narcotics are aboard the plane. Officials are not giving too much information about where the plane came from, who owned it, or who the people are who were arrested in this case.
The 5 arrested were William McCormick from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, Patrick G. Campbell, Demopolis, Alabama, Dennis Brakesman, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Robert Dennis Sanders from Orlando, Florida, and Charles Edward Mahoy of Orlando, Florida. They have been charged with possessing of marijuana with intent to distribute, smuggling of marijuana, and a third charge that we'll determine later. The arrests were made approximately 8 o'clock tonight, and the search warrant was shortly thereafter.
Lieutenant Smith, do you have any idea if the marijuana was destined for the Montgomery area?
Well, at this time, we haven't determined. The investigation is continuing, and we may have more details later. But with the time element, we haven't been able to develop the information yet.
One final question. Where did this marijuana come from?
What's unknown at this time. Hopefully our investigation will lead to this information.
The investigation in this case is still continuing, but so far, this plane and its load of marijuana is the largest haul of pot ever made in the state of Alabama. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News reporting.
The DC-3 had landed here 16 hours earlier before 5 men were arrested in connection with its illegal cargo, marijuana with a street value of over $4 million. The 6,800-pound cargo was neatly packaged in burlap bags and corrugated boxes. State and federal officials are unraveling events surrounding the plane's seizure, but so far it's reported that the craft is owned by a Florida man, but the original point of departure for the huge load of pot has not been revealed. However, authorities did say intelligence sources in Texas alerted Alabama officials of the plane's flight into the state before the airship landed at approximately 4:30 a.m. The men aboard reportedly left the plane, went to a downtown motel while under surveillance. The cargo was left intact at the airfield. Up to this point, a Montgomery connection has not been reported by authorities. They add the investigation into what is the largest drug bust in Alabama history continues today. This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News reporting. $4.3 million in Colombian marijuana went up in flames 18 hours after state public safety agents arrested 5 men and confiscated a twin-engine plane loaded with 7,000 pounds of marijuana. State toxicologists took a sample from each box or bag to analyze and hold for later use at trials on charges of possession of marijuana with intent to distribute, smuggling of marijuana, and conspiracy to smuggle. 2 of the men are from Wisconsin, 2 from Florida, and Patrick G. Campbell of Demopolis was the only Alabamian so far arrested in the case. It was a routine check by a state public safety officer of this plane that led to search warrants and the discovery of millions in marijuana. Officials discovered that the craft was owned by a Florida man and the pilot had given the control tower false information when landing. It is believed by authorities that the plane was not headed for Montgomery, but may have developed mechanical difficulty, forcing the pilot to land in Montgomery. Police sources say the man later tried to start the DC-3, but was unsuccessful and had all but abandoned the craft when they were arrested. Drug intelligence officers say Alabama is ideal because of numerous private and deserted airstrips for smuggling. They add daily air deliveries of marijuana are reported in every area of Alabama, originating in South America. One official said the state is an important link in an international smuggling operation, yielding more than $100 million a year to drug smugglers. For months, there had been reports that Alabama was one of the main distribution points for plane loads of marijuana flown in from South America. But there had been skeptics inside law enforcement agencies and out. But a DC-3 now at a local airstrip and the fuel for this blaze has ended that argument.
This is Norman Lumpkin, WSFA TV News reporting.
The term supersaturated was being used 2 weeks ago for Alabama soil, and with the hard rain since, cropland continues to hold more water than is needed. Rain continues to delay field work on most crops. Extension Service county agents reported surplus soil moisture before rain was forecast for this weekend. State Crop and Livestock Reporting Service figures show low temperatures have prevented germination of cotton seed in many fields. Considerable replanting may be necessary on some cotton farms. Cotton planting has progressed only to 61% of expected acreage. 70% of Alabama corn is in the ground, slightly ahead of last year at this time, and although stands are listed as fair to good, growth has been slowed by bad weather. Some corn fields have been flooded and lost by rising river water. Soybean planting has begun between rains with 8% in the ground. Peanut planting is reported slow with only 37% completed. Two bright spots are hay, which is ready to cut in some fields and is listed as adequate for grazing statewide, and peaches, which are reported doing well in Chilton County. The weather has been great for peaches, say the experts, with a big crop expected in the next weeks. Dick Bird, WSFA TV News, reporting.
This is really no surprise, but I certainly respect Judge Johnson, respect his decision. A part of the statement was very plain and certainly is clear to us, though, in Judge Johnson's opinion. Said it should be emphasized that nothing in this opinion should be considered as a restraint on the police to arrest those violating the laws or conduct searches on probable cause, as that term is defined by the decisions of the United States Court. I think Judge Johnson is eminently fair in his decisions. I have no quarrel with it. I think what we did was necessary to dramatize to the citizens of Montgomery what was happening at our Civic Center. I think Judge Johnson gave us the tools to work with in the future to control the illegal use of drugs and or other contraband materials in the Civic Center. While we technically lost the case, as far as I'm concerned, the ruling is fair and I have no quarrel with it.
Very pleased that we finally have the decision, and pleased also that the court has seemed to so strongly uphold the constitutional rights of the plaintiffs involved in this case and of all citizens.
Were you surprised at all by the decision?
No, frankly, I wasn't.
The mayor has said he's not too surprised either about the decision. Do you have any comments about that?
Well, I'm sort of wondering why he put us all through this if that's the way he feels about it now. And I'm just sorry that it cost the city so much time and energy and money to go through the whole court hearing and so forth.
Almost all low-lying areas of the city were affected by the 6-hour storm, which dumped more than 5 inches of rain on already saturated soil. Most residents whose homes were surrounded by up to 6 inches of water decided to wait until the flood subsided, although some rescues were made necessary. At daybreak, several cars at apartment complexes on the city's east side were found to be almost completely covered with water. At the time these pictures were taken, the water had already receded several inches. Businesses were not exempted from the brunt of the storm. At this lumber business on 231 South, heavy machinery and winches were brought out to catch bundles of expensive lumber before they floated away. The cause for most of the heavy flooding appeared to be overflowing drains and some of the draining ditches, some of which collapsed under the heavy downpour. It was these ditches and their condition which became the topic of discussion at the city council meeting.
We have a drainage problem in the city of Montgomery beyond the magnitude and the scope of ordinary budget items. Unless, as time goes by, we are fortunate enough to get a series of grants to continue working on some of our drainage problems, and are fortunate enough in years to come to get the Corps of Engineers to deal with Catoma Creek as it must be dealt with, or all of South Montgomery will continue to suffer, South and West Montgomery will continue to suffer the ravages of high water.
Councilmember Joe Reed brought up the possibility of a bond issue to raise enough money to get the city's drainage system in shape, and prospects for federal aid were also discussed. The mayor pointed out that the most pressing issue is a channel system to feed Catoma Creek, into which most drainage ditches and tributaries empty. But again, the mayor said it all comes back to a problem of money. One single project alone in North Montgomery has been estimated to cost at least $10 million. This is Dave Rickey, WSFA TV News, reporting.
We're organizing. As of October the 1st, if these problems aren't solved by then, we intend to shut the trucks down. Shut our trucks down. Now, we're asking everybody to join us. They will. And try to work to solve the problems. We need a 65-mile-an-hour speed limit. Right now, under the laws that regulations that DOT just enforced, every driver with a regulated hauler, a freight hauler, he's going to lose $19 to $20 a day because he's required to go only so fast. We need one tag throughout the United States, a commercial tag. That'll alleviate the differentials in the price of a tag in Alabama, Florida, etc. Give us all one tag, we'll know what it'll be, we can operate in any state. We have illegal taxation on fuel. Our trucks use so much fuel, but yet we're taxed for fuel we don't use. It's a big, to report, do all the reporting, and the overhead costs a tremendous amount of money. Just in the state of Alabama to file for these things cost us anywhere from $50 to $75 per state. And it does no good. If they put all the fuel tax on the pumps and we paid it, and then they dispersed it out as they do the revenue sharing, the whole country would be better, the consumer and all of us.
I think that for the foreseeable future, we will require a very extensive defense. I don't see our defense budget going down. I think that we're going to have to maintain the military capability to deter and, if necessary, deflect any sort of military attacks on us. I have every confidence that we have both the will and the resources to do it. So looking toward the future, I think that arms control has a future. I think that arms also have a future, and I'm confident that we have a future.
We will abide by the spirit of this document. We think it gives us the tools still to do the job. I say to you that after all of the other events that have taken place at the Civic Center, drug traffic and other problems have been decreased just almost in a straight line down since we had this search back in December. We prayed for relief or advice as to what to do in our last argument to the judge. In the last sentence of his decree, he gives us some advice which we are free to take or not take, but we must abide by the spirit of it. If an event cannot be policed in a manner that comports with the Constitution, it should not be sponsored by the city of Montgomery. We will in the future require that those people who book rock concerts at the city of Montgomery abide by certain rules. We will cause them to pay for a certain number of off-duty policemen that will be under our control. We will put the burden of the pay on them as part of their promotion. Secondly, we will cause festival seating to be banned. That's where they all gather together in large, uncontrollable masses. We will have them be seated in chairs with aisles in between and by reserved seating so that fire marshals and police officers can patrol the crowds and keep order for those who wish to have order. Thirdly, we will increase the light volume so that the police officers can do their job throughout, and we will continue to do our best to enforce the laws in the city of Montgomery to the end that people may go about the business of work and play in this city in peace and safety and comfort.
As the runoff water works its way downstream, differing problems develop. Most of the Montgomery Riverboat dock is underwater, and Saturday's water ski show, a part of Jubilee, has been canceled. The Alabama River at Montgomery is 1.5 feet above flood stage today, but should begin a rapid fall for 5 days to 10 feet below flood stage by Wednesday. The Alabama River at Selma is cresting today 2 feet below flood stage. The Miller's Ferry gauge on the Alabama River will show a flood crest 4 feet above flood stage for the next 2 days. The Tom Bigby River has taken the brunt of a lot of the runoff water. At Demopolis, the river is cresting now and should stay 5 to 6 feet above flood stage through Sunday before a slow fall begins. The Cahaba River at Marion Junction is staying well below flood stage with a crest 11 feet below flood stage today. The Choctawhatchee River is only slightly above the flood stage at Caryville, Florida, 0.8 of a foot over. A slow fall of a foot over the next 5 days is forecast. Dick Bird, WSFA TV News, reporting.
The Rebels trailed 2-0 after 2.5 innings in the first game, but they took the lead with 3 runs in the third. With 2 outs, the Rebels got consecutive singles by Mel Jackson and Darrell Brown. Glenn Gulliver's double off the wall in right field, then scored Jackson and Brown, and Gulliver came home on Vinoy Garrison's single up the middle. But the Rebels lost their lead for good in the 5th inning. Knoxville scored 2 runs in the 5th with the help of 2 Rebel errors, and the Sox added 1 run in the 6th inning to make the score 5-3. The Rebels cut that lead to 5-4 in the bottom of the 6th, but that was all they could do, so Knoxville took a 5-4 victory in the first game. In the second game, the Sox and the Rebels played scoreless ball for 5 innings, but Knoxville scored 3 runs in the 6th and hung on to a 3-0 victory. The doubleheader loss dropped the Rebels 2 games below the 500 mark for the season and 8 games behind Knoxville in the race for the Southern League West Division pennant. Dan O'Brien, WSFA TV Sports.